Hi, in this video I will show you how to put together the Tricky Tom, which is a 3D SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So I had quite a few people ask me to do a 3D Tricky, so this is my attempt, my version. It's been a couple years. So I finally did it. So I just wanted to show you the parts before we start. So these are the pieces to the back fan. For the feather fan. We'll have these two little wings. So I'm just putting them aside, anything I'm not really using right now. Then we have these two bottom pieces, which I'll show you, and this is all the part of the body. So this is all the body. Then we have panels for this side. And then we have the head pieces. So I have them the same color. This is the actual head. Some people will probably might want to make them different, but I have them the same file, same color in the file. But here are all the head pieces of the panels. Okay, and then I've already inked some of them, so we're going to put those aside. And we're going to start with the body. So let me go ahead and get this out of view, so this doesn't deter from what we're trying to do here, and show you. So we have these two pieces. One's got holes in it, and that's for a specific reason. So that I'll tell you that when we get to that part. And then this one, they'll be numbered. Right now I numbered them manually. But they'll be numbered, and they'll cut the number on the tab. So you might want to write that in there. So this is just to make sure you put them on in the correct order. So you'll see 1, 2, number 2, that's the front. And that's what that little cutout's for, so we can make sure we can piece that bottom piece together, or put it the right direction. Then 3, and then we go all the way the rest around. And you see that the back ones are slightly different shape, so that's why we have numbers. So you can see how they go like this. See those 3 back ones? Where it's kind of, because it's going to be flat in the back, so we can put that fan on. So let's go ahead and start it. So I stopped for a moment so I could just readjust. Those lines were bothering me, but it's just going to have to do. See what happens when you don't want the lines to be, you want them to be straight across on your camera. So I folded these already, so you can see how they're folded. So you want to make sure those are folded before you get started. So for this one, just to show you, so this is going to be a little angled like that. So it will end up coming up, even though I'm folding down. So just get it folded down, and it'll help fold it up. And then we'll go ahead and go like this. So this, I'm using American Crafts textured cardstock, which is my preferred cardstock for 3D items. And art glitter glue is what I'm using today. So the only other thing I'd say, just take it slow if you've never done anything like this, but if you have, then this is not new to you. So I'm going to take them in order. So I'm going to put this on my right hand side so I don't mess up, because I've done that. So I'm going to start with number 1 and then 2. So what we're going to do, you can start at the bottom or top, but the point is just to anchor one tab. So if you're good at doing this, you don't have to do this. I always go back to somebody that's new, that have never done this before. So, and I have a little damp paper towel for excess glue. Keep it off my finger and where I don't want it to show. So I'm just going to line this up. So I'm lining it up at the top, and I'm lining it up at the edge. So I'm lining this edge up to the tab fold, like that. I want to hold it in place. So I typically, once I get it in place, I kind of hold it while I put glue on the rest of them. It just works for me. It's kind of a multitasking thing. So if you want to do a couple you can just do a couple if you like, or you can do all the rest of them. So if you're new at it, I would only do maybe a couple tabs, and then you can go in and put glue on the remaining tabs. And I'll do the next one like that so you can see how you can do partial tabs. But if I put glue on all of them, what I'm doing, I'm just lining these up to each section. And for those that are watching that are newer, this is not, after you do it a couple times with different projects, because this is a very common method for making a 3D item rounded. It gets easier. It's just the more rounded, the harder it is. So if I didn't have like these score lines, it would be harder. It would be more round, but it would be harder. So now we're going to take number 3. So just make sure you have the correct number. Check it down at the bottom. Again, it should just cut out, have a line cut out the number. This time we're gonna anchor the top like I did last time. Line that up. So you can see I just lining it up again to the tab fold, up to that fold, and making sure it's aligned on the top. The first one to glue on is the most important one. So if you get that off a little bit, everything else will be off, because this is an engineered cut to, you know, small amounts of measures. So if it's a little bit off, it'll be off, but it usually doesn't throw you off that much. So let's say I only want to do 2 because I'm not, you know, feeling confident. You can do these 2. You know, if you're new to this, of course. Like I said, it takes a lot of practice. And sometimes it takes just putting in your hand a little bit differently. So don't discount that either. Don't think you have to put it exactly like me. You need to figure out what's going to work for you to fit in. So if you can see the other side. So I always just say, make sure before you do the next tabs, and always go in order, because that's going to help you. If you go out of order, it could buckle a little bit either side, or you did like this side and that side. Some people might do that and do the middles, but I found I have problems with buckling when I do that, so that's why I don't do that. I'd rather it be off just a smidgen if that's the case. So if you just wanted to do a couple at a time, right here I'm just kind of bending it up. I'm holding that last tab in place. Nice thing about paper is that it bends. So I know you can't see me. So with this file too, you can, I do show you with the panels, but if you just wanted just to keep it like this, to have a turkey without the panels, you could always do that. So I mean, it still looks good even with the little folds. But of course I'm going to show you the way that I intended it to be made. So you can see I just reached in, added glue to those final tabs, and I have a little bit of excess glue here. So I'm kind of wiggling it in place. This is the nice part about using wet glue. Then I'm just making sure they're all in place. So if you don't get much glue on the outside of this, and let's just say you wanted to, you're like, oh, I like it brown the way it is. Once you get it done, you don't care about, like I said, the ridges. The only thing that's really going to show is the front. Or if you just want to put the panel in front, it's up to you. But if you wanted to, you wouldn't have to cut these extra panels. So just giving you options. There's always a ton of options with a project. So this is number 4, and this is going to go like this. So the only difference is, there's no difference when I put this on. The only difference is when we get to this one. So when you get to this one, so I'm just make sure I have it kind of folded up. It's no difference. The only difference is it's just angled differently, and then we continue down. So I'm going to let you watch the rest of these pieces being put on, and then I'll come back right when I'm about done with it. So as you can see, we're at the last of it. So we put it in through 1 through 6, and we're right to this point. And you can see I'm just kind of holding it in my hand like that. So I'm just going to go ahead, and with this one, I find it's just easier to do all of them at once. So you could try to do a couple and then just reach in and fold them back. So if you fold them way back like that, you'll be able to reach in from the bottom and add glue if you need to. So you can see I have them all folded back. I already put glue on that front one, that top one. Always the hardest part, in my opinion, is closing these things. So I'm just carefully putting glue, probably putting in a little bit too much. I'm in an awkward position because I'm trying to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. For me, I wouldn't do this naturally. Okay, so I'm going to pull this. I'm going to put that in. So I'm going to start with this. So they're all folded down so they're not really touching. I'm going to get that first one like I have been. You can try to go in order at this point. But if you find it's easier, this is the one time I would say you can just go ahead and anchor the bottom one as well, so you get it in place. So we have the top and bottom. So I didn't get it exactly right here, but it's not going to affect much of anything. So and then I'm just going to go one by one. I'm just reaching in and I'm kind of adjusting them until this edge lines up with the tab fold. So again, I'm just taking those final ones, so I'm right on this one right here, and I'm just making sure I adjust it where I want it so the edge is lined up with the tab fold of the left piece, and then I only have one more. This is actually not that bad compared to a lot of the ones I've done. So I made it a little bit more blockier to make it easier. Sometimes I do that because I want to make sure that this can be made by anybody watching this tutorial and it's not too advanced. So that is the reason I do that. So we're not going to put the bottom in yet. What we want to do is get these panels. So I curled these panels, and the way you can do it is either like this, or you can do it on the edge of you can't see it, but on the edge of your table, kind of curl it. This is small enough for me to curl with my fingers, but I already did that with all the other ones. So they are different shaped. So these three in the front are the same shape. And then when we get to the back, we have this little piece for the top here. Just going to sit right there. And you don't need anything for this part. This is that flat part, because that's where the fan's going to attach on the back. So, and you can see the different shapes, so you just want to match up the shape. So I'm going to just show you how to put a couple on. They're all about the same. So once you have them curled like this, let's start with this one over here. Start with this. If you're in doubt, if you would practice, don't start in the front one. You want the front one to be the better one. So I would just add a little glue at the top here. If you wanted, you could add it right here at the top. Then at the bottom. We're just going to let it kind of poof out and make so it looks circular, so it's going to hide all these little rigid things. So I'm going to start up here. This is why we didn't put the bottom on yet. I'm just kind of lining it up there, kind of holding it lightly in place until I make sure and centering it all the way down. It'll cover the whole side panel. And this is a die cuts with a view fall stack. that I'm using. Not sure if it's still available, but I'll put the name in the notes in the video below or in the product description or the product description. So you can see I'm just applying pressure. Once I get that top in place, just kind of fold it over and then apply pressure to the bottom. So we'll do one other one. So again, so just make sure you have the right one before you put it on. So this is going to be the same procedure even with the ones that are slightly different shaped. It's going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to go line it up at the top. I'm just lightly going to hold it in place until I get it adjusted. And then I'm going to start applying pressure down here, and then I can apply pressure on the top and bottom. And if you do have something like, this is a paper, so it has a white core. So if you didn't want to see that, you could always just go over with whatever ink you use, little ink, to kind of blend it in. So that's one thing you can do with paper like that. So I'm going to go ahead and you can watch me put on the rest of these, and then we'll be back after that. Okay, so we finished putting the panels on, as you can see. And then we're going to go ahead and put that bottom piece on. So one thing I want to mention about this is that I made this, we can call it a box, but I really made this a decor piece. So even though it has a lid, the head will be the lid, I really didn't intend much to fit in here because of the shape. But because of the shape, if I wanted to make the turkey, I decided not to make it a box. So if you wanted it to be a gift or something, you might want to put a box underneath it that you already have. We have free boxes, or I'm sure, you could always just give a box with it. But just because there's a hole in here, it just makes it easier to put together. And I will show you how I put it together, how you can kind of attach the head after we get it put together, but you don't have to. It'll sit on there as well. So I just want to note that before we put the bottom on. So now we're going to take these two panels. Well, actually, we only need one of them. The one we need right now is this one with the holes. So you'll notice there's a circle there and kind of a circular rectangle there. So all I'm trying to do, it's not going to match up exactly. It might one way, but if you put it the other way, it's not going to. So all I'm trying to do is to make sure it's pretty close, but you want to make sure that that tab matches up with this. And you're not going to see this because this is going to be on the inside. So I just want to make sure you put it the correct way. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this inside. So I'm going to kind of fold that piece back for now, just one of them. We'll start with this little rounded rectangle of sorts. So one's really little circle, so you can tell the difference between the two. But we're going to put them inside. So what we want to do is to line this up, this edge up, to that, and we're going to attach this. So we're going to anchor this one piece. Then we're going to flip it to the inside. So it'll give it stability. It doesn't really need it, but for this one, it's a two-fold. It's kind of like a, we could have done without this, but the way that I'm going to attach the feet, we'll hide it with that final tab. So we're going to put glue on this one tab. I'm going to carefully line this up. So I'm lining this edge up to the inside fold. I'll show you in a minute. Sometimes just because I have a camera there doesn't mean I can do it exactly in front of the camera. It's hard to do at a certain angle. I like to get this really right, as close as possible. I'm not doing it very well though. Okay, there always comes a moment in one video. So it's pretty close. As you can see, I'm just kind of holding it in place. So the rest we're just kind of fold out of the way for us, so I can flip that in. This is where chopstick's going to come in handy, like a little wooden chopstick. This is one of my best tools, and it was free because I got Chinese food, take out Chinese food. So if you have a blunt tool like this is going to help you, because we're going to glue these down like this, and then I'm going to reach in with this and just apply pressure to those a little bit more. So I don't want it flipping up. So let's go ahead and add the, let me put my little fingers in there. I'm going to add glue to all these tabs, the insides of these tabs. And you can flip it in, it's not going to hurt a little bit. It just makes it harder because we don't have a large opening on the top. So I'm going to pop that down just a little bit. And we're just going to flip it down here. What I'm doing is kind of squishing it to make sure that they get aligned on the sides there, on the inside. Then I'm just going in and applying pressure to each of those tabs. So I know you can't see that, nor can you get your hand in there, but you can see what's happening down there. So just make sure, if you don't have a wooden stick, just find something a little bit longer. A longer tool at the blunt end. So here I have that, so I could use that too. So just find something. Most people have something in their arsenal to do that. If not, just go get some takeout Chinese and don't use the chopsticks. There you go. So it's pretty sturdy. And then we can go ahead and add the feet. Gotta find the feety part. So here's the feet. So the way it works is this is the part it cut. So this is the top part, and there's little cut marks right here. And just look for those little cut marks. I didn't make them scores intentionally because it's just a little thing to score. So I'd rather just have you just manually fold it up. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to fold them up. We're going to add glue to. Just go add glue up to this line right here. Do not go any further, or just go just inside it. Make sure you have the front, so it's opposite this. So this is the front. Go this way. This will fit in this section. So you want to kind of line up. You want this to go just slightly beyond, but enough for these to fold up. So I'm fairly close to the center. So you just want it enough to clear these folds. Because what you can tell is that when you look at the bottom, you're not going to be able to see them. So if you want to do it like this, you glue it on this way. If for some reason you wanted them flat, you'll still have the fold in them. You could always glue it upside down if you have textured paper. So I'm going to I'm going to glue them to the front. So I'm just going to add a little dot of glue right here, right here. So make sure you're doing it on the inside so it hits this panel. Then you can just hold them for a sec. So that's all we're going to do on this bottom box for now, and then we will end up adding the wings towards the end, because we'll want to add the fan first. But we're going to add this bottom pile. And the reason we're going to wait for the wings because once you get the head together, the placement of the wings will be way easier. So that's one of the reasons why we're holding off on that. Okay, we have those in place. And then this is what this final panel was for. So you just make sure you get it on the correct way. This side's bigger than that side. So it'll hide the feet and hold the feet in place. So let's go ahead and just add that really quick. Just kind of getting towards the edge, close to the edge, but not all the way to the edge. And then we'll go ahead and do the, after we get this on, we'll go ahead and put the head, which is kind of a lid, but it's not a lid. Like I said, it's not really a box that's that usable. You could put little things in. If you would like individual candies, you could pour them out. So you could feasibly use it as a gift box, but very limited in what it could hold. Okay, so let's go ahead and go on to the head. So here are the head pieces. So these are the ones, so these are the panels. So the way I already curled them, and I'm going to show you that. I also inked the edges a little bit because they're kind of emulates the feathers. So I'm just going to show you, sometimes I don't, this is not a final box, this was one of my tests. The fan's a little bit bigger, but you can kind of see how those are going to go. So that's the reason why I'm inking them a little bit. And anyways, so I just add a little ink there. So we already pre-inked them before I put them on. So you can see I put a little ink right here, right here. So, and I'm going to show you how to fold them and to curl them. So I left one, so these are the panels. So put them up like that. These are the sides. So these are the things we're going to put together to put the structure of the head. So the panels, I'm just going to do that first because it's the easiest. It's kind of going to curl like this, and then it's going to go like this at the bottom. So if you pre-curl it, it'll be all ready to put on, and then you can always just kind of curl this up a little bit more if you want with my handy dandy free wooden chopstick. So the less money we can pay, on specific tools, the more we can spend on paper and or SVG files. But you know, I have a lot of free, so you don't necessarily have to spend money. So what I did is I already folded all these on the score, so I'm just showing you how it folds like this, and then there's a fold there. So when we get to these last two scores here, they're kind of going to score. This one you're going to score back and then up, and then back and up. I like to train it. I like to do it in a, this is a valley fold and this is a mountain fold, but I'll go with the natural score first, and then I kind of pull it up. So it'll curve like this. So let's go ahead. I just used this ink that's really not readily available, but you could use any of the ink that you have to ink it, if that's what you want to do, but it gives it a fun effect. I even thought it would be fun to emboss those edges, but I decided not to. But just that's just an idea. It'd be fun to do this, the ends of those. Might give it a fun effect, but I don't know. Anything in with the embossing folder is fun. So those are all ready to go. So all we got to do is put them together. They're all the same size. I wanted to make it easy, so it's perfectly roundish, as much as it can be. So we'll just go ahead and I'm going to anchor this first top tab. Have a little bit of a blockage. So this is not all that different than the body. The difference is it's just a bit smaller. So I'm just flattening it out. I'm just lining this up. So make sure this is where the scores kind of help, because it can help line up that edge. So you can see I'm just lining that edge up. Let's get that anchored. Then I wouldn't move it until you're ready, but the nice part is I'm kind of holding the tab in place. You can see it from the back. So I'm just going to do a couple tabs. So this next one, just lining that edge up with the tab fold. Then with the fold kind of angling it around to line up this edge. So I wanted a skinnier turkey head. So to do skinnier turkey head meant that I had to kind of forego it being a usable box, which is something that I personally do not like to do, but I know that primarily for Thanksgiving, these type of things would be decor pieces anyways. I just thought it would be fun. I'm more of a animated type of gal rather than realistic. So I was actually quite thrilled with the way this came out for me, because it's more in line with my personality. So we'll continue adding them the same way. So this just takes a little patience. Don't rush it. Kind of fold those in a little bit. It'll help a little bit. And it's just the key is just getting this first tab aligned. So making sure you align that top score line. I'm just getting that excess glue off. Get that anchored. I'm just kind of flipping it back so I can get inside. You can flip it over. And then add glue carefully to the other tabs. So we're going to do this with all the remaining ones. It's going to be the same process all the way around. So just take it slow, go in order from top to bottom. You could start from the bottom and go to the top too. I just say go one way. I always tend to start at the top because then I'll know it's aligned at the top always, because that's where I'm going to see the most flaws, towards the top. The bottom I wouldn't see as much. So I guess this is a good time if you do like our videos or our projects, this project and any of our others. I always ask if you could give me a little thumbs up. Just hit a little like below there. And or subscribe to our channel. It's always appreciated. Lets me know what you like and what you don't like. I have some that people don't like. But you know, it's all a creative process. So I'm going to continue putting the rest of these to get on, and then what I'll do is I'll come back right before we close it up. So right when I get to the sixth piece, before I close it up, that's the hardest part of this process. I'll just talk through that part. So now we're here at the end here, and like I stated before, this is the hardest part of anything like this, as far as closing things up. So with practice it becomes easier. Since this is a pretty small design, or pretty small, not that many tabs, or I'm just going to put glue at all the tabs just like we did the body. So with the head, we're just going to go ahead and it's not as simple, so I'm going to start at the bottom here. Line that up. It's just because it gets so narrow. I'm just reaching in. And if your hands are, my hands are actually small and stubby. So if they were smaller, this is where this tool comes in handy too, is that you can put it in there and apply pressure against the tab. It kind of becomes your hand, the thick side in. So I'm going from the bottom to the top this time just to make it a little easier. Just because the angle of that top piece gets a little bit dicey. So it's not, this last one's not perfect for me, but I can make that the back of the head. And when we put the panels on, it hides some of this anyways. You don't really notice. So again, if you want more of a blocky look, you wouldn't have to put the panels on at all. That's up to you. Okay. So now that's why we kept this open. So I'm just kind of pull these up a little bit so we can reach in with a finger. When we put the panels on, we'll be able to attach them like we do the other ones. So I'm going to just take one of them. It's going to go up here. It's going to come down. And then I'm going to glue it down here. So there's two ways we can do it. We can put it on the actual panel like I did before. So let's do one that way. So we don't want it all the way down. So you can see where this curve starts. That's right above that's where we're going to put the glue. See that? So we'll put it, next we'll just put the glue on this, and that might be easier for some people. So I'm going to line it up here, kind of lightly hold it in place as I pull it down. Now it's harder because I'm using cardstock versus paper. So I'm kind of like getting this in place, lining it up, and then kind of pulling it down to get this in the right place. But if you didn't use these panels, you won't have this little extra little flippy thingy. Or I kind of call it the, I don't know, the net curl. There we go. So that's how it goes. So the other way you can do it is put a little glue up here, which might be easier. I prefer this. Just don't put them too close to the edge. This way, you can get this one in place. So I'm just kind of going all the way to the top, making sure it's aligned before I really apply a lot of pressure. Get that in place. And I can kind of hold it down like that. Make sure it's centered. And then apply pressure down here. So the panels are two-fold. It adds this little decorative piece for the neck and just hides these folds basically. So I'll go and continue and add the rest of them. I'm not going to bore you with that. So anyways, you can watch it. And if you wanted to, too, just to show you, you see how it kind of flips up? You could kind of glue it down if you prefer. So that's up to you how you want to do it. But this would be the easier way to do it. And it just kind of gives it a round look, even though I know you kind of see the edge still. So I'll go ahead and finish those, and then we'll go ahead and put the top of the piece of the head on. Okay, so we have all the panels on for the head. So the next step would be put on the top and the little this little head piece here. This little piece right here. So before that, let's go ahead and I'm going to take these all out. These are little pearl beads I'm going to use later on. So if you don't already have our embellishment bowl, this is one of them, and it's something to keep the items in there. So I just dropped one of the beads, so that's the reason I use them. But let's see, I just found it. So I put all those in there, and I have all my little pieces just so I don't lose them. So after we cut something, that's the reason why I use this. So it's a little freebie if you're interested. So there's two little tops here. So we can add this top. So we can just go ahead and glue it on the top right there. Or we could just do this. I mean, you really don't need to use this, but it could come in handy. We could just glue it on the inside if we wanted to, just like the other one. So I'm just going to do that. Go ahead and add that. But you could, if you feel comfortable about it, once we get the little head piece in, that's what that slot's for, you could just glue it on the top like that. So it's one less piece to work with. But let's go ahead and make it just a smidgen sturdier here. I'm going to flip those back. Put this glue one edge on the inside. So this is just, it's a teeny piece. It's not like you're wasting a lot of paper or anything. So I'm just lining one side up to this tab. I'm just going to fold it in. I put the texture on the inside to make it easier to glue to that tab, by the way, since I have textured paper. So I'm going to pull them all the way down. What I'm doing is I'm going to squish it all together. So inside, if you can see that, I'm kind of squishing it together, and then I'll apply pressure with my, I want the edges to be as close to the edge. So wherever I started, we're going to the next one, and I'm pushing it down to make sure that my edge of that piece, put it flat, is lined up with the inside tab fold as close as I can get it. Just getting rid of some gaps up there. It doesn't have to be perfect, so if it doesn't line up really well, just get it centered. So I'm just kind of pushing it down. I'm going to get the blunt end. All that inside is doing is helping us get a little bit more closer to the middle there, so we can get the gap. So I have a little gap, but it's not a huge gap, not really that noticeable. So that's ready now for that top piece. So we're going to put it over here to dry a little bit more. So here's the hair. So there's two pieces. They're going to go back to back like that. So, and there's a little cut line in there. So that'll be to go through the whole center of this hole and glue on the other side. So I'm just making sure that the texture side is up. And then I'm going to put it down to glue it. So we only want to add glue above that little cut line. I'll move this so I don't get glue on the other side here. So this is opposite, so we're just gonna kind of hold it, place it down, gonna line it up. It's just best just to do this within your fingertips and get the edges lined up. Have a little glue leakage. So now what it's like is to, I was a little bit off there because I just touched it. But it's going to be like this. So it's going to go through the hole. See how that separates? Let's see, I'll do it with the background, see how that separates. So I'm going to get the texture side up on this. I'm going to carefully slide it through. So once we slide it through, we can fold it back on that little cut line there. So just be careful here. See how I have that? Just holding one side. I'm going to add glue to this. Make sure that that little cut line aligns. Glue one side. And then I'm just going to flip this up carefully. Glue the other. Just add a little bit of glue there. Fold it down. There we go, our top turkey feather. So you can either go, determine which is the front. You can either put it like that or put it like that. So pick whatever side you want. I'm going to pick this side. The other one I did the opposite. So whatever, I would choose the best front. So if you, for some reason, I would turn around, see if there's any flaws, and just pick one. It doesn't matter, they're all the same, but if there's one side that maybe you got glue on, something like that, just make that the back. So I'm going to just, it's kind of a little raised back there, right there. So I'm going to make that the part of the kind of back. So let's go ahead, I'm just going to add glue, pushing that up. Add glue to this. So I decided it's going to go that way, but like I said, it could go either way, whichever way you want it to go. Or you could omit it completely. I like it. It's my little whimsical touch. So I didn't line up that top part as well as I could have. So this is where it gets a little bit difficult because you can't really reach in. So, but what you could do is this. See how I'm doing that? So I'm using this as my, to apply pressure on that inside piece. So there's the hair. So now we just need to get the rest of the face. So we have these pieces. We have the eyes. I suppose it could be either way. I think that they're slightly different, but this is what they call the wattle, or wattle. I think you say wattle. W-A-T-T-L-E. I had to look up the name of it. And this is the beak. So let's go ahead, let's put the eyes on. Let's get the easy stuff done. And then we'll put together the beak. I have a little bit of a little hanging piece of paper there. Just didn't cut right. I want to put that towards the bottom. I don't want it to be. So then I'm going to take a white pen. So this is what my favorite white pen that I use. It's called a Jelly Roll from Sakura. It's one of my favorite. So I'm just going to do little eye accents on this so it can dry while I'm just kind of making it up. Let's do that. Only have one choice, so let's see. That is doable, I think. You could always do this in pencil before you do it in pen. It's up to you. Just free form. Okay, so the left one came out a little bit better. So it's just little eye accents. Let's go ahead and put that up there to dry. Then we can put the beak on. Well, not beak, we're gonna make the beak. So we have this piece, it's pretty small. So I'm gonna show you how to fold it. So it's gonna fold around like this. Beak shaped. Ah. Okay, now I just got people to get off my video after that stupid comment. Anyways, I have to have fun. I have to entertain myself while I'm making these things too. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue this side tab right here. Right there. So I'm going to have this handy because it's going to come in handy with this part. Go ahead and fold this over. Just making sure that this fold right here is beyond, lines up best it can. So you can reach in or you can do this now. Once I got it in place, you can just apply additional pressure. That's just my back piece. Make sure I get a sharper point then. I can't get my finger all the way into that tip. So you want to make sure that's good and dry. Then we're going to fold these over. You don't want to fold them too far in because we want this to grab. When we glue this, we're just going to glue it like that. So this is the top of the beak. So I'm going to just carefully add glue, and when you add glue to these tabs, make sure you get just a light layer of glue all the way to the edges. I'm going to have your handy dandy damp cloth just in case it does kind of leak out a little bit. So we got those. Just going to go ahead and fold that over. I'm going to start with these two sides. I just want to get those lined up. And then we just kind of push it into place. So I'm kind of squishing it into shape. Then once we have it where we want it, go ahead and just rub the tabs lightly, because you don't want to push them in, because if you push them in, it won't adhere. And then we'll just go ahead and apply pressure against the table to get that final. Okay, so we have the beak. So now you can decide where you want to put it all. So if you can always put it sideways, I'm just kind of making sure. So make sure you have, this will be the bottom. So just make sure you have that correctly on. So that's the bottom, this is the top. Again, making sure I have the right angle with you. It's the same shape, so this is the bottom and that's the top. So I'm just going to flip it around like that. Make sure it's the right orientation. So now we're just going to kind of place it. Now I don't have, you can have this further, taller. Let's give you a little bit more of a, so really you want to see what's going to look good to you. So first I wanted to make sure I was on the right panel, so this was showing, so that's why I had it oriented this way. And the way I do this, so I emboss this a little bit, but we kind of want this to hang down. So I'm just going to place it, kind of want to see it a little bit, but that's kind of where I want to place it. So once you figure out where you want to place it and how it looks to you, you can put it in place. So let's go ahead, I'll do the eyes first now that I have that. I think I'm going to pop them up. I like the idea of them with foam tape. Let's make sure that I don't make, so this is the Scotch foam tape. I'm going to pop them up a little bit, just making sure it's no bigger than this section. I'm going to go ahead and add the tape. I think I want to make it just a little thinner here. I don't want it to be seen. It's fine if you see it from above, but I just didn't want it to be seen. And make sure that's where I want it. I'm just going to lightly place it there until I'm ready. Again, be careful because the beak can actually turn on you and you could put it on wrong. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put like that. So I'm going to add a little glue to this. Get this in place first. I'm just doing it lightly. Then I'm going to make sure my beaks, I'm putting my thumb where the bottom is so I know that's the bottom. I'm going to hold on to it carefully until I get it in place. Oops. I want the red just to show a little bit on the top. I'm kind of scooching it to the left to center it. And once I have it in place, going to reach in and apply pressure. So I did get a little glue leakage there. So I'm applying pressure, sticking my hand in to get pressure behind that beak to keep it in place. Be careful about squishing this. You just want to put some pressure down so we can get it glued to the panel. So now we have the head all set up to go. So we're almost done. We just have a couple little things. We have to do the fan and put everything together. So now we're going to go ahead and put together the fan. So this is fairly straightforward. It's going to line up like this. So you can see how it lines up. It kind of center it. What I did was put a little bit of extra space. So this will be the same exact shape as the back. So it's going to glue onto the back of it, but there's just a little bit of excess kind of like cut out of this, so it will fit nicely in it. So what you want to do is kind of center this and align these to these sides. And see where that bend is? We want to kind of line it to that bend. So we're going to go ahead, make sure I don't get any glue on that. Kind of can go around these edges really light. You can do dots if you don't have a really good fine tip applicator. Just don't go too close to the edge because we don't want it to bleed either in this opening or on the edge. Just doing a light thing of glue right below it. So what we're going to do now, carefully, I'm going to start on the left. I'm lining that little bend down there and lining it up at the bottom there. gave it a little wiggle room, so if I had to move it just a little bit, which I do. So get the best you can, just align it right there. And then place it down. So once you get this first piece on, the second one, you're just going to align it down. So so you can see right here. So this is part of the same stack as the panels on the actual body. So we'll go ahead and align this, and you can align it just to the top and side edges here. I'm going to take these little perler beads. They were melted. Put glue on them, but I'll put glue on the things. I'm just going to center the one in each section just to give it a little bit more dimension. So I'll just add glue here. They're big enough that I don't need a special tool to do it. But you could use glue dots, but with glue it lets me wiggle around a little bit, and it actually holds it a little bit better sometimes for me, so I tend to use. So if you've never seen this, these are just compliments. My sister, which is also a crafter, you can melt perler beads, and this is what they are. So they're melted perler beads. You can look on YouTube and find them. They're nice little embellishments, inexpensive, well, especially to me because she gives them to me. She makes a bunch of them, and then we share some crafting supplies sometimes. Because, you know, you buy a whole bunch, and then usually, depending on what you buy, I mean, sometimes you have too much. Never too much paper, obviously. Everybody needs paper. But when you go and buy a bunch of stuff, embellishments, sometimes you get a whole lot more than you'd ever use. And so it's good to have somebody to share it with. Even though we're almost half the United States away, we're pretty far apart. But we still share. She's very generous. Very fortunate. So we're going to let that dry for a minute. And then once it dries, we'll put it on, but I wanted to show you something. We can put these on first. So if we have the body and now the head. So that's how it sits right there. So the reason why I waited to do the wings is because this will help us place it. So as you can see, there's little cutouts in the wings. So I'm just going to pull them up a little bit first. And if you want a little tool, I have a smaller tool this time. This is kind of like a little stylus that I've had forever, wood stylus. One of my favorite tools. This is a little bit smaller, so I can curl these edges up a little bit. I'm not doing the best. Let me get that angle. This is not my strong point, but I try. I say everything takes a lot of practice. I have a lot of practice too. So I like to curl, so I'm going to do this on the other side too. Just kind of curling things up. I'm going to curl that around a little bit too. I could have done that before I popped them up. So the reason why we want to wait until the end is because of this. This is going to go, there's going to be a one on either side, right? So you can see that. But we kind of want to place it based on where the edge of the head is. So I'm going to place this first. So this is how we're going to determine it. There's two ways for the head. You can glue it down, which I'm going to end up doing. But if you wanted to put something small, like little pieces of candy in it, you could just leave it up here, but it's going to be a little wobbly. Okay? So if you just use this as a decor piece, you're going to glue it down. So once you get this in place, we can just kind of determine where we want it. And then we'll place that. So you could get a little, like, pen or pencil. Pencil's probably better, but I have a pen at my disposal right now. So if I wanted to go down here, you see how that goes right there? Like, oh, okay, I kind of like where that's going to be. So I could always just mark it right there. Okay, not going to do that right now, but I'm just letting you know that's the reason why we waited until the end, so we could eyeball where we wanted this thing. So for this other side, I'm just kind of curl it around so it kind of wraps around the body. And then we're going to go ahead and curl these up until you're satisfied what it looks like. Just my little attempt at making a little bit of dimension. It does come together, by the way. It doesn't seem like it's going to. Like, I was very doubtful when I first did it, but it did come together. Okay, got a little glue on my fingers. So you glue that down. So that's what I'm going to do first, so I can place these after. I'm going to push this down, and we're going to glue it. So if you wanted it open, don't glue it, and go ahead and place the wings just as it sits. Okay, but to make it easier for me right now, so I have to do that anyways, you can go ahead and add a little glue right at the top of all these sections. And then make sure you have it facing the correct side. So remember, make sure your face is facing the feet before you do this. Go ahead and place it on. And we're going to make sure it's oriented correctly. I'm just kind of adjusting it. And I'm pushing it down. Then I'm going to hold all these sides to get it in place. So you can see I'm just kind of going around. I know you've seen it from the top, but I think you get the gist of what I'm doing. Make sure it's good and dry before you're doing a whole lot of movement. And there it goes. So you could put on the wings, you could always put this on next. I mean, that's up to you. We're just going to glue that like that and then put the wings. So let's go ahead and do that. I just want to make sure this was good and dry. So it doesn't matter at this point. You just need to be aware that you need to be careful so you don't knock one thing out for the other. So let's move this out of my way. So I'm just going to add glue to this. So again, this right here, this little back, it's the same size as that. So we're just going to line this up. I'm going to watch this at this bottom edge right here. I'm going to just line this up, that bottom edge, like that. So I'm just going to double check on the other side here. But this is why we didn't need a panel on the back. I'm going to kind of scooch it up because I have a little wiggle room left and right, just a little bit, like 0.0 something. I mean, it's very small tolerance. So you could also use, you know, just because I use glue doesn't mean you could always use other things. So if you have a strong double sticky tape that you use, like score tape, that would be good for that application on the back. I just feel like that the glue, you know, once it dries, it's pretty sturdy. But the point is getting it dry. So now that it's on, again, another idea is you could cut another set of these out and put that on the back. I mean, but it's not going to show. But I would think like something like Happy Thanksgiving, if you did it with vinyl, or like a printed cut or something, would be cute on the back. So now the only thing we want to do is just add the wings. So I'm going to put it flat down so you can see it. There's a little turkey tom. I call it Turkey Tom because there's always Tom the turkey that we cooked at my aunt's during Thanksgiving. So she called every single turkey every year Tom. So I thought it was an ode to the Thanksgivings that I miss going to at my aunt's with all our family. So it goes like this. So we're going to just go ahead and place them. So we're going to place them. I know it's hard to, I'm trying not to jiggle this too much when I do this. So you could do that last if you wanted to, but just so you can see it, I'm just going to put it right under this edge. And just the way that I want it. So I'm just, once I get one in place, I'm going to do the other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add glue just right there. If you wanted to add glue to stick it a little bit better to the rest of it, you could always add a little dot of glue to go around the edge. So we'll just do one right there. How about that? So I'm just going to slide it underneath there. I'll show you from a different angle in a minute, but I'm kind of seeing it from, you can see it from this side. So once I just get one side on, or once you get one side on, I'll just emulate it on the other side to put it in the same location. You don't need a lot of glue, and just kind of stay away from the edges so you have a little wiggle room. So if you don't go all the way to the edge, at least you have a wiggle room to put it down. So at this point you can't see it, but I'm standing up so I can make sure that I put it in the right same place. Similar. And our turkey has been born. So I just want to hold it just a little bit longer, and then we'll flip it up. So there he is, or if you want to call it a her, but I call it Turkey Tom. So there's Turkey Tom. So I hope some people enjoy Turkey Tom during their Thanksgiving holiday, at least in the U.S. for this year, because I know I missed Thanksgiving in other country. So there you go. If you do like this project, please give me, again, a little thumbs up below, a little like, and I appreciate you coming to support us and view our little files. Thank you so much for watching.